Hello, hello. Hey. We're about to get started. I just want to note that there's some seats over here as well for those coming in. Hello, everyone. Please find your seats. We're about to get started. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to the 48th Annual Letelier Moffitt Human Rights Awards, both to everyone in this beautiful Friends Meeting House and to all of you joining online. I am IPS Executive Director Tope Falarin. Thank you. Many of you joining us tonight have been part of this expanding IPS community for many years, and some of you are joining us for the first time. This special community first came together in 1976 after agents of Chilean dictator Augusto Pinochet assassinated two of our IPS colleagues, Orlando Letelier and Ronnie Carpin Moffitt, right here in Washington, D.C. Through this awards program, we've helped turn that horrific terrorist attack into a force for good. We gather every year not just to remember, but to draw inspiration from their legacy of commitment to human rights and justice. Last year, just a few days after October 7th, I noted that we were gathering in the midst of horrific suffering in the Middle East. Over a year later, that remains the case, and we must continue to confront the ongoing violence and dehumanization that is occurring in that part of the world at this very moment. But in the face of these challenges, we have also witnessed remarkable acts of courage, solidarity, and resilience from communities working tirelessly for peace and justice and human dignity. Tonight, we celebrate those individuals and organizations who, despite the obstacles they face, refuse to give up. I'd like to turn our attention to three organizations that continue the fight for justice and human rights against incredible odds. Our international awardee this year is 48 Cantones, an organization that represents indigenous communities in Guatemala and has been instrumental in defending their lands, cultures, and rights against powerful adversaries. Their efforts remind us that the struggle for justice is both local and global. We have two domestic awardees this year, IMEU, which has played an essential role in providing accurate information and amplifying the voices of Palestinians in the US, and Rabbis for Ceasefire, whose work to promote peace and de-escalation in the midst of conflict is a profound example of moral leadership. Before we give the first award, we at IPS would like to pause for a moment to remember someone who is dear to our hearts. Last year, IPS celebrated Chilean President Gabriel Boric and two other presidents, Gustavo Petro and Lula, who have won our Human Rights Award in the past. 3 Saturdays ago, we received the shocking news that the person who was awarded our international award 5 years ago, who joyously received the award on this stage from our board chair, Sarita Gupta, was brazenly assassinated in his community in Honduras. I invite my IPS colleague, Manuel Perez Rocha, who leads IPS's trade and mining work, to the podium to help us honor Juan Lopez.
Good evening, everyone. Buenas tardes en Honduras. They're seeing us from Honduras at this moment. All the people that are part of the family, brothers and sisters of Juan López. Después vamos a enviar esto en español, pero estamos aquí celebrando la versión 2024 de Letelier Moffitt y vamos a honrar a Juan López. Okay, as we gather today to celebrate our 2024 Letelier Moffitt Awardees, let us take a moment to honor and dedicate this evening also to a former awardee, a fallen hero, Juan López. Juan received the award in 2019, 5 years ago, on behalf of the Municipal Committee in Defense of the Common Good and Public Goods of Tocoa, a municipality in Honduras. This committee formed in 2015 to organize against concessions to iron, gold mines in the Carlos Escaleras National Park. Carlos Escaleras was an environmentalist that also died years before for defending their territories. Accepting the award on behalf of the organization 5 years ago when he was here, Juan said, "We dream of a world free of violence, free of drug trafficking, free of corruption, and free from the empire. With the same spirit of Berta Cáceres, we say, wake up humanity, there is no more time." Juan was murdered on September 14 in Tocoa. He was shot multiple times in his car after he left church. He was an outspoken critic of open pit mining and hydroelectric projects like Berta Cáceres. Juan was 46 years old, married, and had 2 children. Thank you, Jean Stockham, for bringing this photograph. And there is no better way to describe Juan than how his brothers and sisters at the committee described him. This is the committee. Juan López, a friend, a brother, an inexhaustible guy that dedicated his life to defending nature, justice, and the well-being of the most vulnerable communities. Humble and knowledgeable, he did not seek to become famous. Instead, he put down roots in villages among the people, educating and empowering them with the dream that the Carlos Escaleras National Park would be free and that the people would learn to defend themselves from extractivism and oppressive forces. Juan was a man of deep faith, in love with life, people, and hope, that with serenity and conviction embraced the cause of justice, leaving behind a legacy in the hearts of those who knew him. That was from the Comité. Here in Washington, many organizations, many here present, signed an open letter condemning the assassination of Juan, and thanks to the Latin American Working Group for initiating this letter. And in the letter we urge an immediate investigation so that the perpetrators are brought to justice, including those who ordered the killing. We call on the Libre Party government to strengthen its protective measures for environmentalists and activists, and for President Xiomara Castro to keep her campaign promise to end open pit mining in the country. I leave the final written words I received from Juan López in a letter. He used to write letters and he sent them in WhatsApp chats and stuff. And the last one I saw on July 21st, he said, "The search for justice is much stronger when the oppressing class knows that the oppressed are ready to listen and utter their words in the correct place, moment, and tone. Peace is our goal, not silence. To the contrary, the struggle for peace requires revealing all the grapes of corruption that exist so that justice can flourish and that peace can be durable. Let us not be afraid." Juan López, presente.
Thank you so much for that, and may he rest in peace. To present our international award, we have been delighted to forge a close relationship with a member of Congress who has been tireless in her support for human rights in Guatemala. I would like to invite Karime Alejos to the podium. She's a public policy fellow with the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute and an aide to our presenter, Representative Ramirez of Illinois.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Karime Alejos, and I'm a congressional fellow working in Representative Letelier Ramirez's office. It is my great pleasure to introduce Congresswoman Ramirez, who will be presenting the International Award today. As a dedicated advocate for human rights on a global scale, she has worked tirelessly in Congress to advocate for communities abroad. Please join me in welcoming her as she shares a few words presenting this special honor. Hola y bienvenidos. Mi nombre es Karime Alejos y trabajo en la oficina de la congresista Letelier Ramírez como practicante legislativa. Es un placer para mí introducir a la congresista Ramírez, quien presentará el premio internacional hoy. Como defensora comprometida de los derechos humanos a un nivel global, ella ha trabajado en el Congreso para apoyar a comunidades en el extranjero. Acompáñenme en darle la bienvenida mientras comparte unas palabras antes de presentar este honor especial. Gracias. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Buenas noches. Soy la congresista Delia Catalina Ramirez. I'm Congresswoman Delia Catalina Ramirez, and I get the honor to represent the incredibly diverse Illinois 3rd Congressional District. As a daughter of Guatemalan immigrants, a Chapina, I take immense pride in lifting up those who are fighting for dignity and for democracy in Guatemala. And it is a special honor for me to join the Institute for Policy Studies for the 48th annual Letelier Moffitt Human Rights Award ceremony. As we celebrate 203 years of independence in Guatemala and the bravery of our people who fought to achieve it, we have to recognize that the work and the commitment of those fighting today to strengthen democracies across the Western Hemisphere is more critical than ever. That is why we should all applaud the transfer of power this past January to Guatemalan President Bernardo Arevalo. Folks, peaceful transfers of power, they're not guaranteed. A democratic transition that was only possible thanks to the dedication and the activism of Guatemala's indigenous peoples. And it's those courageous and committed leaders who walked for 106 days to ensure that their voices were heard and the will of the people were respected. And in the face of structural discrimination, marginalization, corruption, intimidation, they still marched, they resisted, they stood strong.
Take two. Try to
Good evening, everyone. Buenas noches. And it's why on the 106th day of the new government of Guatemala, here in Congress, I introduced a resolution honoring the indispensable role of the indigenous people of Guatemala and recognizing that indigenous communities are leading the defense of democracy throughout the Western Hemisphere. I'm excited to join the Institute for Policy Studies to present the International Letelier Moffitt Human Rights Award to the Concejo de Autoridades de 48 Cantones. The Concejo de Autoridades de 48 Cantones de Totonicapán, which brings together the ancestral community authorities of 48 groups of Maya Quiche people, played a leading role in the fight of Guatemala's democracy. The 48 Cantones inspired powerful actions across Guatemala, from a national strike to to sit-ins in front of the offices of those who were obstructing the peaceful transition of power. They were not organizing in favor of a given party or president, but rather in favor of democracy, of the rule of law, of their own voice. So may this be an example for all of us, everywhere in the world, including the United States. The powerful movement catalyzed by the 48 Cantones is an example of how peaceful protest, community decision-making, rooted in indigenous traditions, and coalition building between Guatemala's historically excluded populations was the force that stopped the attempts to silence the democratic will of the Guatemalan people. It is my distinct honor to present the 2024 International Letelier Moffitt Human Rights Award to the Concejo de Autoridades de 48 Cantones de Totonicapán. Congratulations.
A great message. Thank you so much for that. Rolando Castro will speak on behalf of the 3 members of the organization who are here with us tonight, including Rigoberto Bacash and Rolando Gutierrez. I invite them to the podium to receive their award, along with one of the great interpreters of our time, Charlie Roberts, who has served in this role for us many times over the years. You want to come give? We'll give it to them together. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, of course. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Muy buenas noches a quienes muy amablemente organizaron este magno evento, al director del Instituto de Estudios Políticos, a los funcionarios de GOLA, mis respetos a los miembros de la Junta Directiva de Alcaldes Comunales de los 48 cantones que me acompañan, 2024, señor Rigoberto Baquiash y Juan Rolando Gutiérrez, a todo el público presente, buenas noches. Quiero agradecerle.
Good evening to all of those who have kindly, who are here tonight, and particularly to those who've kindly organized this great event, the director of IPS, staff of WOLA, also my words of respect to the respectable mayors who are members of the board of directors of the of the 48 cantones in this year, 2024, and these are Rigoberto Baquiash and Juan Rolando Gutierrez, and everyone present.
Quiero agradecer el alto honor que se le da al pueblo quiché del departamento de Totonicapán, Guatemala, quienes a través de nuestra institución histórica ancestral de los 48 cantones de Totonicapán, en el año 2023 tuvimos un papel protagónico y central en la defensa de la democracia, el orden constitucional de Guatemala y el recambio del poder.
I'd like to thank you for the lofty honor that is being done to the Quiché people from the Department of Totonicapán in Guatemala, who through our historic and ancestral institution of the 48 cantones of Totonicapán in 2023 played a key role and a leading role in defending democracy, the constitutional order, and a transition in government in Guatemala.
Toda la lucha por la democracia que ocurrió el año pasado no solo fue dirigida por el pueblo de Totonicapán, sino también se sumaron otros 6 pueblos y con el paso de los días fueron incorporándose más pueblos mayas, xincas, garífunas, mestizos, ladinos y una articulación a nivel nacional.
The whole struggle for democracy that occurred throughout last year was directed not only by the people of Totonicapán, but also six other peoples joined us. And as the time went on, particularly from other Mayan peoples, the Xinca peoples, the Garifuna, Mestizo, and Ladino peoples, and we all coordinated nationwide.
No quiero olvidar y un agradecimiento profundo a un sector de Guatemala que son el centro neurálgico de su economía y que por falta de oportunidad tuvieron que emigrar. Mi honor a los migrantes quienes con un corazón inquebrantable también alzaron la voz para decir ya basta de tanta corrupción y nos apoyaron a todos y a cada uno de ellos, el Creador y Formador. Dios los cuide, guarde y proteja donde quiera que estén.
And I also do not wish to forget, and I'd like to profoundly thank a very important sector of Guatemala. Indeed, they're a driving force of our economy, who, because of lack of opportunities in Guatemala, have had to migrate. So I'd like to recognize and express honor for the migrants who have been an unbreakable heart as well. They've also lifted up their voices to say enough of so much corruption. They also supported us. So to each and every one of them, may God, the creator and former of all, care for and protect all of you wherever you may be.
Quiero agradecer a WOLA por habernos nominado al premio sobre derechos humanos Letelier Moffitt, que el día de hoy se me hace entrega conjuntamente con las dos autoridades ancestrales que me acompañan de los 48 cantones. En todas partes del mundo existen personas que han ofrendado la vida para defender los ideales de los pueblos. En nuestra historia indígena de Totonicapán podemos hablar de Atanasio Tzul, los masacrados en la cumbre de Alaska. Incluyo también, claro, los nombres de Orlando Letelier, Ronnie Moffitt, pero existen muchos nunca escuchados, pero su nombre siempre y su legado estarán con nosotros.
I'd also like to thank WOLA for having nominated us for this Letelier Moffitt Human Rights Award, and that is being given to me today, representing the 48 cantones on behalf of the Council of Mayors. And also, everywhere in the world, there are people who have given their lives to defend the ideals of the peoples of the world. In our indigenous history of Totonicapán, we can speak of Atanasio Tzul, Lucas Aguilar, people who were massacred in Alaska. And also, I include here the names of Orlando Letelier, Ronnie Moffitt, but there are so many more. We'll never hear their names anywhere, but their legacy and their spirit of struggle will always accompany us.
Estar al servicio de los demás es una norma de vida que permite promover una sociedad en donde nadie es más grande ni más noble. Quiero disculparme, me salté un guión. Finalmente, quiero resaltar que a pesar de todos los acontecimientos vividos en Guatemala, la clave de la resistencia de nuestro pueblo es el servicio comunitario ad honorem, que es un derecho y un deber de todos los vecinos de los 48 cantones de Totonicapán. Estar al servicio de los demás es una norma de vida que permite promover una sociedad en donde nadie es más grande, ni más noble, ni más meritorio. Todos y todas somos iguales. El camino del servicio comunitario ancestral es el camino por donde podemos encontrarnos, sostenernos, ayudarnos mutuamente. Por eso nosotros decimos que el poder del pueblo de Totonicapán está en el servicio comunitario. Lo digo en mi idioma, que todos se levanten, que nadie se quede atrás, que viva la justicia, que viva la paz, que viva la dignidad, que vivan los 48 cantones. Muchas gracias.
Finally, I'd like to emphasize that despite everything that we have experienced in Guatemala, the key for the resistance of our people is community service ad honorem community service, which is a right and a duty of all of the residents of the 48 cantones of Totonicapán. Being at the service of others is a basic rule of life that makes it possible to promote a society in which no one is bigger, more noble, or more meritorious than anyone else. We are all equal. The path of communities, ancestral community service, is the path by which we can all find one another, sustain one another, and help one another. That is why we say that the power of the people of Totonicapán is in community service. And then I will not repeat what was said in Maya Quiché, but I'll give the translation. May everyone rise up. Nobody should be left behind. Long live justice, long live peace, long live dignity, and long live the 48 communities, the 48 cantones.
Muchas gracias. Estos aplausos se los dedicamos al Consejo de Alcaldes de los 48 cantones de Totonicapán y muy agradecidos con la IPS, a cada uno de ustedes por haber homenajeado a 48 cantones. Este premio no es para uno ni dos personas, es para todo un pueblo, Totonicapán, y por qué no decirlo, a todos los pueblos que conforman toda y todos los 22 departamentos de Guatemala. Es para toda Guatemala. Gracias, gente, por haber defendido la democracia. Gracias, 48 cantones, por ese esfuerzo realizado. Y a cada uno de ustedes, que Dios los bendiga por esta nominación. Que viva 48 cantones.
And I'd like to thank all of you for being here tonight in this tribute to the 48 cantones. This is not a prize for or an award for just one or two individuals. This is for the entire people, of all of the peoples, indeed, of the 22 departments of Guatemala. And so thank you so much, and we say thank you for democracy, thank you for the 48 cantones, and thank you, and may God bless each and every one of you and the 48 cantones. Thank you.
Congratulations again to all of you. For our cultural presentation tonight, we celebrate DC's booming go-go music with a remarkable performer who is cultivating a more loving, peaceful, and equitable world for all. Like last year's performer, Lilo Gonzalez, Devin Walker, also known as Uncle Devin, is a national leader in the children's music industry. He is an award-winning drummer and percussionist and is the owner of the Uncle Devin Show, an interactive musical experience for children that uses percussion instruments in a dynamic cross between DC's treble funk and schoolhouse rock. Please welcome Uncle Devin.
Hey, Congress, we demand from you, move the money. And the president needs to give it to, move the money. Oh, Congress playing us like a fool, move the money. We got to feed the people, yes we do, move the money. We got the streets, the teachers, the pre-K, the seniors, the ledgers are cut, the preachers are leaving, schools, the arts, the students, they want it. Just like people and politicians, they cut the Congress to give more money for war, to make the rich richer and increasing the poor. So don't you dare laugh, cause it's not funny. We have to do it all to move the money. Hey Congress, we demand from you, say move the money. And then just like that, everybody come on, say move the money. Oh, Congress playing us like a fool, move the money. We got the fair play teachers, yes we do. Move the money. Yeah. More cuts to healthcare, housing, and food. Construction is coming unglued. Carjackings, drive-bys, and even mass shootings. We can do a lot to change. Who are we fooling? Increase the budget for health, nutrition. No more military bases, guns or ammunition. No money for Congress, no for money. We got to do less. Come on, but move the money. Congress, we demand for you. Come on, move the money over here. And then the president needs to hear this too. Move the money, yes. Both Congress playing us like a fool. Move the money. We got to feed the people, yes we do. Move the money. There's 758. Let's do it again. 80 countries? There's 750 U.S. military bases on every continent. I don't want 80 countries. Let's do it again here. There's 750 U.S. military bases in over 80 countries. That's a lot of places. The minute uses suppliers of guns. If they just then proceed to killing fathers and their sons. Increase. I gotta do it again. Let's break it down. Break it down. Passed an audit. All right. Well, I'm gonna break it down like this. So sometimes as an artist, when things don't go right, you just ad lib, and we're gonna come and do it differently. Because the one thing we're talking about is that we cannot continue to put all this money into the military. So we're gonna break it down like this. What I was trying to say was there were 750 U.S. military bases in over 80 countries. That's a lot of places. The U.S. is the #1 supplier of guns. They end up in our guns. We're gonna get this. So this is so important. So I'm gonna bring it up right here. I did this song a little while ago. It's my first time ever playing before live. There's 750 U.S. military bases in over 80 countries. That's a lot of places. The U.S. is the #1 supplier of guns that ends up on our street killing our daughters and our sons. The Congress keeps the Pentagon budget. They never ever passed an audit. I don't understand. We have to do our thing. Everybody come on, say, move the money. Hey, Congress, we demand from you. Come on. And the president needs to hear this too. Say it, move the money. Both Congress makes us like a fool. Move the money. We're gonna feed the people, yes we do. Break it down, break it down, break it down. All right. So in the case going out to IPS. Say, IPS, thank you so much for hosting this event. Now, we got another slogan that we want to say. Very important. We're going to bring it like this, okay? Here we go. I said, you know what we need is, what do we need? We need gun control at the Pentagon. Say gun control at the Pentagon. Say Congress making bombs. Everybody say gun control at the Pentagon. We need gun control at the Pentagon. I said we need gun control at the Pentagon. Hey, we got to move that money. No more bombs. Move the money. I said no more war in Africa. Move the money. All right, thank y'all so much. Give yourselves a round of applause. You know, there are organizations, I'm so honored that this song that I did last year, there are organizations called the Move the Money movements, and they have been sharing this around all over the country, so I'm so grateful. But now, I'm gonna do a song. In 2020, right after George Floyd died, 26 black children's music artists got together, and we created an album called All One Tribe. And that album was nominated for the Grammy for Best Children's Album in 2022. And so I'm gonna do a song that I wrote on that album. It's about a very specific history that many people don't know about the indigenous people and about the African people here in the United States. And it goes like this. Now check it out. In 1878, the White House had an Easter egg roll. It's an annual event to celebrate the holidays, but blacks weren't allowed to go. Instead of being sad, we all got together and went to the National Zoo. For over 100 years in the nation's capital, and families were there with their crew to get funky with it. Let me turn it back up a little bit. All right. And you know one thing, most of my shows are for children 12 and under. So I need all of y'all to bring the child out so that I can make sure I'm doing what I'm doing. Because you know what? I'm so used to playing for children. I got to get this thing going like this. We're going to do it like this. You said we can't come with you to have some fun. This is what we say. Get it. We made the best of your segregation and turned it into a DC holiday. On Easter Monday at the National Zoo, it's a fun day for me and you. In chocolate suit, all day, come join the party. Ashe, in the spirit of family, yes right, and in unity, that's right. Let's get rockin' to the beat. Have you seen any bears? Where they at? Where they at? Have you seen any pandas? Where they at? Where they at? Have you seen any eggs? Where they at? Where they at? Have you seen all the people? Where they at? Where they at? You can't keep us down or stop our go-go sound. Hashtag don't mute DC. You can't mute us. We'll come together and fun. Enjoy and have some fun. Come join us and you see. On Easter Monday at the National Zoo, it's a fun day for me and you. In chocolate suit, all day, come join the party. Ashe, in the spirit of family, yes it is, and in unity, that's right. Let's get rockin' to the beat. You know it, the beat is talking and the people are rocking to the beat. And the girls come together everywhere, just moving their feet. And the moral of the story is that we must do for self. And the best way to do it is love and knowledge of self. So let's do it now. All right, special dedication going out to all the children in Northeast, Southeast, Northwest, and Southwest Washington, D.C. Special dedication went out for the children in Sea Pleasant and Bryan's Road, and children everywhere. And shout out to Mother Africa, because we know we love you. Come on, let's do it on Easter morning at the National Zoo. It's a fun day for me and you in Chocolate City. All day, don't join the party. I say, in the spirit of family, yes it is, and in unity, that's right. Let's get rockin' to the beat. Here we go, having fun. Uncle Devin, on the one. And just remember, life is a drum, so beat it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Uncle Devin. Life is a drum, so beat it. I love that. I'm going to keep that with us. Thank you so much for that incredible performance. It's a special privilege to invite to the stage someone who is a unique combination of joy, generosity, strategic brilliance, total commitment to human rights, and loyalty. She's one of IPS's most cherished, long-standing allies, a friend, cheerleader, co-strategizer, and we are proud to have her serve as IPS's board chair, Sarita Gupta.
Oh my gosh, that was wonderful. Thank you, Uncle Devin. That was great. I hope everyone's having a wonderful evening. It was lovely hearing all the buzz outside and people saying, I haven't seen you in so long. And that's what this event is about. It's so lovely. And also just a huge congratulations to our international awardees again, really. So as Topaz said, I'm Sarita Gupta, and I want to tell you why I love IPS, and why I'm on the board, and why we need you to be as generous as you can once more. So I've worked with IPS for 25 years in many capacities, and I was thinking about this earlier. My first capacity was as a young activist in the global justice movement of the late 90s and early 2000s, where I first came across IPS at mobilizations and teach-ins on global justice. I've had the privilege of, I've always been a reader of their analysis. I've been a close ally during my time at Jobs with Justice. I've been a collaborator in the work in India. I've had the privilege of being a presenter of its awards, and now just as an incredibly proud board chair. So I've, over the years, been so impressed to see IPS's commitment to mentoring a diverse new generation of public scholars and paying them a living wage. We should clap for that. Paying them a living wage through their Henry Wallace Fellows program. I hear some fellows in the room. I had the great privilege this summer of spending a little time with some of the fellows, and they're just brilliant and amazing. For 61 years, IPS has used its research and policy work to support vibrant social movements and to combine their power with the power of culture. IPS plays a critical role in our movements, and we need IPS to be strong and to continue to play a bold role in the fight for the future. Many don't realize that this is IPS's main fundraising event of the year. So, we do it differently at IPS than other human rights events. We lift up and promote groups that are often not, but should be, in the public spotlight. This is a community building event, and we welcome you to the IPS family. We keep ticket prices low, and we offer a range of options so that this event is accessible to all. But for those of you who can give, we've set a goal here tonight to raise $10,000. So can you help me do that? Can we make that work? All right. Well, to inspire you, there's one person here who has promised to pledge. He's a good friend to IPS and to many of us. I'd like to ask Andy Shalal, the amazing creator of Busboys and Poets. Andy, if you would share your pledge with us. Come on up, Andy. Come join me. Andy, how are you going to support IPS?
I didn't realize this was going to be a speaking engagement, but IPS obviously, as I think Sarita mentioned, is home. It's really a place where you can come and feel that collective hug that I think we all need, especially during these very difficult times.
That's right.
I think coming here is really kind of restores my faith in America. I'm an immigrant, so my faith keeps going in and out. And I don't have a lot of choices of where to go, so this is home for me. And I work with organizations like IPS and others to make sure that this country upholds the values that it stands for. It's the reason why my family moved here. It's the reason why I think all of us believe and stay here. This is the most optimistic group of human beings because you obviously believe in a better world. And I think we all do, and we deserve it. So. Being of Arab descent, this has been a very difficult year, I think, for a lot of people. All of us, of course, any human being, and to turn to IPS and see the kind of writing that is delivered from Phyllis, from Corey, from others, I think has been inspiring and reassuring that we're in good hands. And sometimes it gets very dark, but I know that there is hope and there's light on the other side. So I am a supporter, and I'll continue to be one. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Andy. So Andy is making a very generous donation to IPS tonight, and I'd like to just welcome all of you who can and are willing to make a donation. He is making a donation of $5,000 tonight to meet us towards our $10,000 goal. So if any of you can donate another $5,000, that'd be amazing. If others of you can give 1,000 or 100 or 50 or 25, anything, everything counts and matters and will be so incredibly helpful. So beside me on the screen in a moment, a QR code will go up. Is that true? No? Okay. But there is a donate link that is on the website. Oh, the QR code is on the programs. Thank you, Maria Elena. So on your programs, there's a QR code. You can take a moment and make a generous contribution. Or you can leave a check or cash in the baskets that IPSer will be holding as you leave the event. Or you can become a sustainer and support the Institute over every month, if you'd like. So please take a moment now. Really think about all that you value at IPS. I know me and my family really value IPS. I'm making a $1,500 contribution tonight. And I hope some of you will also contribute with me, because you are all essential to the fight. And it's your dedication to progress, to humanity, and to visionary change that will take us from despair to hope, right? As Andy beautifully just said, but also as we heard from our international awardees. So please make a contribution tonight and help us to ensure that IPS thrives as we continue to build towards our vision of the world we want and need today and into the future. So please make your donations. Again, use the QR code, or on your way out, the program's not over, to be clear. There will be people with baskets, and you can just slip your check or cash into the basket. So thank you for that. And finally, I ask you to join me in showing deep appreciation for the amazing IPS team that has helped pull this together, and especially Avia Krepnik and her talented team at IPS who made this inspirational event possible. So thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Sarita. Andy, shout out to you. Always appreciate your words. Thank you so much. To present our final honor tonight, the domestic Letelier Moffitt Human Rights Award, we wanted to find someone whose dedication to peace in Israel-Palestine and commitment to Palestinian rights is truly unparalleled. It didn't take us long to realize that the best choice was, in fact, two remarkable individuals. Both have worked with unmatched passion for peace, diplomacy, and international law. Please join me in welcoming my colleagues, Phyllis Bennis and Carrie Peterson-Smith, co-directors of the New Internationalism Project at IPS.
Hi, everybody. This is such a joyful gathering every year, but it's no surprise or mystery that it's been a catastrophic year in the Middle East, especially for people in Gaza. We know that well before last October, because of war and colonization, that many generations of lives were impacted by violence and indignity. But it is the case that a year ago, there was a day of violence that opened up a year of violence. And that has been violence on a level and on a scale that even for those who are engaged with this place, it has been overwhelming to take in, let alone respond. A lot has changed, and we have to hold both the horror to the extent that we can, as well as the fact that the movement for Palestinian rights in this country has experienced a breakthrough, actually, that is profound. The level of mobilization, the fact that this has been an issue on every single college campus in the country. And I could go on, but I just want to say a word about two aspects that have had a profound shape on the year. One, really, a certain culmination of years of reckoning in the North American Jewish community about the use of Jewish faith and Jewish identity and Jewish community as weapons against Palestinians. And there have been Jewish folks at the forefront over this year saying not in our names. And of course, in the face of unreal violence and dehumanization, Palestinians in Palestine and Palestinians and Palestinian Americans in this place, speaking for themselves, contesting the lies, and telling their own stories. And with that, I want to hand it to Phyllis, because we are awarding some awardees tonight who know a thing or two about what I just said.
Thank you all for being here tonight to share this moment with us. I especially want to thank the selection committee for the awards for recognizing this moment, that it was so important to recognize groups that are working on the question of Palestinian rights and opposing genocide. There has been a huge movement, as Carrie said, a huge movement has erupted in support of Palestinian rights and demanding a ceasefire. A movement like we've never seen, those of us who have worked on this issue for a longer time than I care to remember sometimes. Enough laughing. That, you know, this has been just an extraordinary, spontaneous moment when that movement has risen up by itself on the basis of what so many organizations, led by Palestinians and others, have built over these many years. And it's built on the work that has gone before. So the student movements, the student encampments that inspired a generation to continue the work of the justice generation that emerged at the time of the killing of George Floyd and created a movement that brought in every young person in this country. The uncommitted movement that created a whole new level of creativity about how we think about the politics of movements and how to organize it. All of that. The Institute for Middle East Understanding, IMEU, has been part of that work, part of the ground on which this new movement has been built for almost 20 years, almost 2 decades, bringing Palestinian voices to the mainstream press, placing articles, working with the mainstream press in a way that none of us can imagine how hard that is, and succeeding. Those of you who saw today's front page of the Washington Post will know that. I don't even know if IMEU had anything to do with that article, but whether they did or not, their work laid the groundwork for it. I want to just highlight 3 points that IMEU worked on over this year. At Thanksgiving last year, very soon after the beginning of Israel's horrific war in Gaza, 3 Palestinian students in Vermont, in our country, were shot during Thanksgiving break. You remember that? It was IMEU that worked with them and their families to make sure that they knew what they were doing, how to deal with the press. There was a lot of press on their own, but that doesn't mean they were getting it right. They weren't getting the story right, and it took the work of IMEU staff working with them and their families to make that happen. The students in these incredible encampments, in this incredible student mobilization all over the country, have been doing work that they never imagined they knew how to do. How to hold a press conference, how to talk to a journalist, how to do an interview. And suddenly there was a core of people, a cohort of trained people all over the country who were ready to help them and train them and do that kind of training that is so key to building movements. And the final one I just want to highlight, when Shireen Abu Akleh was killed, the journalist who was known and loved all over the world for her work on Al Jazeera and elsewhere. There have been 128 journalists killed this year. Shireen was one of them. And it was IMEU who worked with Shireen's family, with her niece Lena, who became the spokeswoman for the family, helped them on the Hill, helped them deal with the press. At the moment of their deepest grief, they helped them move forward. They helped them build that movement. That's been incredible. And then we have to recognize that this movement for Palestinian rights for so many years has been appropriately led by Palestinians. And there are also times when we need a Jewish presence, right? And that's where organizations like JVP, Jewish Voice for Peace, have played such a crucial role. And at the moment it was so needed, we suddenly had a new organization that called itself Rabbis for Ceasefire, that started out as a sign-on letter and suddenly has become, in this year, a real organization that went to Israel to try and bring food into Gaza, working with Israeli rabbis. They got amazingly close. I was convinced they weren't even going to get in at the airport. Boy, was I wrong. But they did it. The rabbis pulled it off. They protested at the UN and managed, because the door happened to be unlocked, it just happened, they happened to be able to walk right into the Security Council chamber and sit down and pray. And really, who's going to tell a bunch of praying rabbis they have to leave, right? So the security people were like, what do we do now? You know, eventually they asked the photographers to leave, but it took like 45 minutes or an hour before they even asked the rabbis to leave, and at which point they said, okay, we're not here to protest the UN, we're here to protest what the United States is doing to prevent the United Nations from doing its job. And then they followed it up, they followed it up with a meeting with the Secretary General, because he doesn't get to meet very often with those kind of Jews in this country. So that was pretty amazing. IMEU and Rabbis for Ceasefire have been an incredible part of this movement. They have provided examples for all of us in how to mobilize, how to build a movement, because at the end of the day, what we're all here for is to build movements. That's how we change the world. So I want to invite up both the organizations. There'll be a spokesperson from each, but all of the folks from both of the organizations, come on up with them to receive the awards and to tell us why you've done what you've done. Thank you. Speak first, okay. Please speak first. Okay.
Thanks for coming up. Thank you so much, Huri and Phyllis, for that generous and kind introduction. Thank you. I want to give you hugs. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Dana Karouche, Assistant Director of IMEU, the Institute for Middle East Understanding. Our director, Margaret DeRoos, was very disappointed she couldn't make it tonight, given family obligations. We all need family in this moment, but she sends her love. And it's my honor to be here on her behalf and alongside Rabbis for Ceasefire. And I thank my colleagues for standing with me. They didn't know that was part of the program. Very honored to be receiving this award alongside Rabbis for Ceasefire. You know, so many people think and want to believe that there's a conflict between Palestinians and Jews, when we know how untrue it is. The dividing line is between people who support and promote ethnic or racial supremacy and those who believe in freedom for all people with no exceptions.
Yeah.
And standing together, accepting the award jointly, being aware of the incredible work and courage of Rabbis for Ceasefire gives us a glimpse into the better world that all of our speakers have been talking about, that we can build together. So on behalf of my colleagues, those in the room tonight, those across the country and in Palestine, thank you for this honor. We dedicate this award to all the journalists and storytellers in Palestine and Lebanon who have risked their lives and continue to risk their lives to make sure this world sees and hears our people's pain, suffering, and fight for freedom. We dedicate this award to them and to their peers who have been killed in the pursuit of truth in their reporting. We are facing a catastrophe. It's been a year, as many have remarked, marked by deep tragedy and unimaginable loss. Many of us, usually driven by hope and conviction, feel depleted. In 1 year, Israel has killed over 16,500 Palestinian children in Gaza. Thousands of babies who'd barely been brought into the world, thousands of toddlers who just learned to walk and to call out for their mama, thousands of school-aged kids who'd just begun to explore the world around them, teenagers yet to discover their passions. Israel has killed over 42,000 people, displaced over 90% of Palestinians in Gaza, driven them out of their homes and into tents as they starved the entire population. My colleagues join the world, many in this room, in grief and despair and anger. But we can't stop. Together, our voices are making a difference, and Palestinians need us more than ever before to stand united for justice, now more than ever. Tonight, by fellow awardees, everybody that's been on this stage, past awardees, the feeling is mutual. We are importantly reminded that there is more good in the world. Our well of hope and conviction, it's refilling, it's renewing. So thank you, everybody that's here, everybody that has been awarded. Thank you for sharing your stories with us. IMEU was founded 20 years ago with the belief that storytelling and narrative change are key to building power. And this has been a theme tonight as well. And more specifically, that if Palestinians had the chance to tell our own stories, that the results would be transformative. We are a women-led, Palestinian-led, independent media advocacy organization. We amplify Palestinian stories, perspectives, voices, dreams in mainstream and social media in order to shift hearts and minds, build support for Palestinian rights, and ultimately impact policy. Since last October, our team has made sure that Americans see and hear from Palestinians in Gaza, their families here in the US, from doctors and aid workers, from human rights and international lawyers. We've been producing a nonstop stream of content to equip the movement, activists, movement partners, others, with resources that bring to light what's happening, that provide the missing context, that explain what people are seeing or not seeing in the news. Our team is in awe of the amazing organizations, one of them right near me, at the forefront of the movement for Palestinian rights. Our collective impact is reflected in public opinion. 2/3 of US voters support a permanent ceasefire, and a majority of Americans oppose sending Israel more weapons. We've seen steady and incremental change over our time as an organization, shifts in the way the US covers Palestine, featuring Palestinians as people, as mothers and fathers, as leaders and artists, not just nameless numbers. More and more Americans, as we've all spoken about, are beginning to see the struggle for Palestinian rights and freedom as part and parcel of what it means to be progressive in America as this movement grows. A small but growing number of representatives are speaking. They're conscious on this issue, working to advance policies on Palestine that align with law and human rights principles, and trying to put pressure on this administration. Because let's face it, the Biden administration could have put an end to Israel's violence long ago. Instead of using his power and leverage to prevent violence across the region now, Biden has ignored experts and the will of the American people. Now, in violation of international and US law, the Biden administration is backing and arming, and continues to, Israel as it pushes the Middle East into an all-out war that could cost tens of thousands of lives. For the sake of these lives, our sister organization, IMEU Policy Project, working here in DC, has been working to push on every lever and pressure the administration and the campaign for a ceasefire and an arms embargo. Everything we do is about the marginalized voices of Palestinians being heard, being seen as worthy of freedom and dignity and justice. Thank you, IPS, for uplifting this work, for what you do to push strategically and fiercely for a future we all in this room aspire to. Your analysis has been invaluable to our work and continues to be, and we're so grateful to what a thought partner you've been, and looking forward to working more with Huri. Tonight's award and the history of this award is rooted in something Palestinians know all too well, right? Struggling for dignity and rights under violent persecution and censorship, advancing liberation and justice by speaking truth to power. I want everyone to know that when you speak up, Palestinians in Gaza can hear you. You help them feel that they're not alone, and together, as we demand an end to their suffering, we're also cultivating a hope for a better and more just future from Palestine to Lebanon and beyond. Thank you so much for this honor.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rabbi Alyssa Wise, the founder and lead organizer of Rabbis for Ceasefire. It's a deep honor to receive this award, and it's a double honor to be receiving it side by side with the IMEU, an organization dedicated to doing the essential countercurrent work of bringing Palestinian narratives into a media environment that makes that all but impossible. Your work is transformative in every way. Mazel tov and thank you. I also hope that receiving this award will merit Rabbis for Ceasefire with the good fortune of its previous honorees that have gone on to champion progressive policies, win watershed campaigns, and stand strong against the powerful. It's beyond an honor to be in the lineage of the awardees. We are humbled and grateful by this recognition and proudly stand here in the grand lineage of those aspiring to human rights and a future worthy of the coming generations. When Rabbis for Ceasefire started and shared our initial statement on October 27th, 2023, we had no intention of starting an organization. We planned to strategically intervene to call in Jews to demand a ceasefire, and we expected to soon see an end to the attack on Gaza. And yet, nearly a year later, devastatingly, our work has just begun. In the painful weeks following October 7th, I saw that most of the organized Jewish world was going along with Israel's plans to destroy Gaza. It was clear there was a role for justice-minded rabbis to play. So I gathered a group of us, we drafted a statement, made it into a video in 48 hours, and collected 80 signatures. The core of our message has not changed since that day. At this moment of great moral reckoning, Rabbis for Ceasefire are speaking out with one voice to fulfill the most sacred obligation in Jewish tradition, pikuach nefesh, saving a life. Israel, funded by the United States, in the name of Jewish safety, is destroying homes, universities, and hospitals. They're starving and maiming, displacing, and murdering hundreds of thousands of Palestinians, untold numbers of children. Thousands of Palestinians without charge or trial are being abused and tortured in Israeli prisons. Dozens of Israeli hostages have been killed or remain captive in Gaza, abandoned by their own government. An end to this horror feels desperate, and we are heartbroken we have not yet been able to stop it. Still, I have hope for the Jewish future because of the now over 360 rabbis, rabbinical students, cantors, and kohanot from across political affiliations and denominations who are now part of Rabbis for Ceasefire. – As the Jewish world ruptures, I am grateful that there is spiritual leadership rising to meet the obligations and challenges of this moment. I am so proud of each and every rabbi for Ceasefire. These past 11 months have included unprecedented collaborations among the Jewish left and our multi-faith partners, building together toward a life-sustaining future. Phyllis outlined a bunch of our activities. We began last November with an outdoor Shachrit morning prayer service on the lawn in front of the Capitol, followed by a press conference that was really more like a worship service with members of Congress who were early signers in the Ceasefire Now resolution. We marched from Philadelphia to DC with a coalition of multi-faith partners. We went, as Phyllis said, to the Erez crossing border. In August, we brought a multi-faith delegation, a solidarity delegation to the West Bank in an act of protective presence and emotional support to Palestinians feeling isolated and abandoned, just as Israel began its attacks of the West Bank. We have been nonstop, but it is not just us. Over the last year, we've seen grassroots mobilization in solidarity with Palestinians at an unprecedented scale. Massive street protests, building occupations, student encampments, boycotts, work disruptions, and more by millions of us in the US and around the world. And we are at our most powerful and united, but it has been proven to be insufficient to stop the Israel-US genocide. All the conventional wisdom we used to live by about how power works and can be upended has gone out the window in this year. So what do we do now? We have to be willing to let go of all we think we know and understand. As people of faith, we are aware that that must include going back to our sacred texts and reading them anew. We must, as a beloved teacher of mine in rabbinical school taught me, read them and read them and read them until they read ethically. Rereading and rereading our sacred texts right now is essential political work to link arms with those with whom we are aligned. Those that insist on reading our texts as real estate contracts that justify colonialism and seek to recast Israeli apartheid and oppression of Palestinians as a religious conflict and promises of messianic redemption must be stopped at the root. The way that we at Rabbis for Ceasefire are choosing to engage with Jewish tradition is to mine it for imperatives to solidarity and mutual aid, to nourishing where we live, not dominating it, to live interdependently with our neighbors, to choose collective liberation. We will keep at it as long as it takes. Thank you again for this tremendous honor. We are buoyed by it as an affirmation of the importance of our work, and we will remain committed to living up to the legacy of both Orlando and Ronnie and all those that do what is right, even when it comes with the risk of paying for it with our lives. May we all merit a world that values the dignity of human life. Thank you. Would I be together with them?
Congratulations again to all of you. We are now at the close of our program. I just want to thank all of you so much for coming. Just like Sarita said, when I was down here. I arrived a few hours ago, had an opportunity to meet with some of you during the reception. And it's always incredible to see all of you here, those of you who've been doing this for a long time, and those of you who are new as well. You guys are really an important part of this community, the IPS community. We spend a lot of time, as you know, in silence, researching, writing, doing work to support people around the world who are in dire need of our assistance. And it's incredibly uplifting to see all of you here now today. So thank you for your support. Thanks for all you do. It's incredibly meaningful to all of us. I want to give a huge thanks to all of you for being here as well. Special shout out to Avia Krupnik, who has been amazing in getting all of this together. And as we've mentioned before, I'll mention it again, as you leave, if you are able, please do contribute, either through the QR code on the back of your program, or directly to the IPSer at the bottom of the staircase who is holding a basket. Thanks to all of you, and see you in the battles to come. Good night.